artwork from about 10 years ago on this Parsha. Okay, so we're learning here Parsha Tetzaveh. Normally we learn from the piece from Beit Rav Kook, but they don't have one for Parsha Tetzaveh. They don't know what happened. They didn't get it together this week, so we're going to learn. We'll learn just a few different things. We actually got like a piece from Rav Aviner here as well, and he's certainly a Talmud of Rav Tzvi Yehuda, and certainly a Talmud of Torat Rav Kook. So we'll do a little bit about that. So Parsha Tetzaveh is unique in all the Parshot of the Torah from the moment that Moshe is born. And I'll ask you the hard question, seeing that you're used to it, Wayne. How's Tetzaveh unique?
That Moshe is not in it.
Very good, very good. Well, yeah, Moshe is very good. Moshe is in it, but his name isn't. Okay. And now the higher grade question. I haven't used that term for a while. What does that sound like? Right? Like, where else do we see that where there's like a prominent name missing? That's there, but it isn't mentioned. Think of next week.
Yeah, the Megilla.
Exactly, right? So there's like this interesting parallel between Tetzaveh missing Moshe's name and the Megillah missing Hashem's name as a type of Hester Panim. And that's definitely what I felt, in terms of talking about this morning. I'll just relate again now in the recording, just an experience last night. I went to the Azkara of Daniel Perez, Hashem Yikom Damo. It was a year since they buried his shirt with his blood on it. And it was held in Har Herzl, so there were very senior people from the army there, and lots of the people spoke. And then they had an event across the road at the Yad Sarah building on this top floor. And over there also there was an Aluf Mishneh that spoke, and all spoke beautifully. It was Daniel's principal from his high school. I was zocher to be Daniel's grade 7 principal for 7 months before he moved to made Aliyah to Israel. And last week, ahead of the evening that we had last week in Talmud, I got hold of like some archived Yeshiva College photos and videos. I actually found the video there of my speech to Daniel and Jonathan before they made Aliyah, and got like giving Daniel a big hug. Special boy. Please God, b'zchut all the Torah and everything. He should be back tomorrow, if not today. His body should be back for Israel. So the Azkara was obviously very emotional and moving, and to imagine the trauma that they've been through and their friends and their family. And then I saw Matan Angrest's parents were there. Right? So Matan Angrest was the soldier who received the sign of life of this horrible video a few days ago, and he was a soldier in Daniel's tank. And the Perez family and them were very, very close. I think I met them. I sat next to them at the Shloshim. I had a whiskey with them at the Shloshim at Har Herzl. Obviously 11 months ago. And I just couldn't believe that these people are walking around, right? That they can live in this cloud and shadow of the worst imaginable cruelty, and still be walking around. I was talking to a friend, a guy from South Africa, and then I saw behind us the Mrs. Angrest was standing there. I said to him, "Do you know who that is there?" That's my son's mother. And I just started weeping there. I'm not a very weepy, cry guy, which is a fault. And I just couldn't believe it. Like just a reality that can't be accepted. Eventually, when I left, I went into the lift, and there was just this young girl there in the lift. And she looked a little bit familiar, and I saw she had a Matan Angrest, like a dog tag. So I said to her, "Are you Matan's sister?" And she said, "Yes." Obviously, I was debating in my head for a long time. Should I say something? Should I not say something? Just stay in the lift, go home, and go. And I felt like, rather take the risk of reaching out to someone who's going through unimaginable pain. And she said yes. I said, "Wow, just such a chizuk and love from all of us, and we're thinking of you and your family all the time, and just amazed by your strength." And she just lit up, her face lit up with this big smile. Wow, Todah Rabba. And I guess she's going through mad trauma of her big brother, going through much unimaginable cruelty and not knowing what's going on. the parents are obviously, much more visible in public, and there's this like sweet young girl who's missing her poor older brother, just at a moment like that. So it was quite unreal, and then just for us to be just regular people exposed to such cruelty and madness, and meeting these people that are going through it from such close proximity just amplifies the pain and the madness and the pervasiveness of what's going on. And I woke up in the morning, I was like, Parsha Tetzaveh, it's all about, for me, it's always been this message of Moshe's name is missing, and what does that mean? And relating to the Megilla, like Wayne correctly answered, he's welcome back. With the Megilla also being this tremendous revelation of Hashem's hand in the world, but without his name. So there's a type of Hester Panim. And after the first Panim was destroyed, the divine revelation in an apparent way was missing. And the Chiddush of the Megillah, in a way, is how we come to Kimu B'Kiblut HaYehudim, how without this clear, apparent experience of Hashem, the people step up to be able to find Hashem and to take on the Torah on our terms, from what we call like an iterut dilatat, an awakening from below, which isn't initiated from a divine revelation from above. So just after you've finished seeing my silly image that I made just a few years ago of Parsha Tetzaveh, really, where's Wali, right? Where's Moshe? Where's Moshe? So Moshe is missing in the Parsha. And over here, this was more of like an educational message. Then sort of I think like the more difficult message that we take out from it this year in terms of Hester Panim. But over here you see right in Shmot, so in this mitzvah now, also dealing with a lot of the different things around Aaron HaKohen, which we'll see is relevant, that Moshe has commanded, Moshe's commanded, but his name isn't used. As you said, for the first time, from the time Moshe is born until the time the Torah ends, Moshe's name appears in every parsha except for this one. So what's the reason that his name is replaced with V'ata, and giving this command to light with the pure olive oil, to light the Ner Tamid. So the Baal HaTurim says, what's the reason? So Moshe's name isn't said in this parsha, which is not true for the rest of the Chumash. The time that Moshe is born, there's no parsha without his name. So the Baal HaTurim brings this first reason. He says, in the coming parashiot, Hashem says with the Tetzaveh and Kitisa, Hashem says, I'm going to wipe out the Jewish people because of the Tetzaveh. Moshe then says, Mechani Nami Sifracha. Right? He says this like very bold, amazing, leadership-driven statement where he says, if you're going to wipe out the Jewish people, you can wipe me out from your book. Mechani Nami Sifracha. Asher Katabta, that you wrote. And so that's right. It's like something of strength. It's quite amazing that Moshe said that. He said, I'm not just bound up with just doing the mission for you, Hashem. I'm also taken on being a true representative of Bnei Israel as it is now. And if you want to wipe them out, take me out with them as well. So that doesn't come into fruition, obviously. But what the Baal HaTurim says something interesting. Yeah, So the Baal HaTurim says this is actually like it's a curse of a sage, of a great person. And even though Moshe is sort of like cursing himself over here, because a Chacham says something, even if he says it on condition, right? He said, if you wipe them out, then wipe me out. And Hashem didn't wipe them out. But he says here the words of a Chacham and his curses are so powerful that even if he does it on condition, the fact that he said this thing in any sort of form, it means that it has to come to fruition because it came out of the word of the sage, and also we know the voice of Moshe gets the same level as the voice of Hashem when it comes to halakha and it comes to the validity of the Torah. We know that from Sefer Dvarim, where Moshe says basically it's like Hashem speaks mitoch krono shel Moshe. That's like the idea. So if Kililat Chacham has got that status over much more so that for Moshe's voice. So how does Hashem now say, okay, how do I bring what Moshe says into fruition? I'm going to take him out of one parsha. And this is the Parsha of Tetzaveh. But the Zohar Parsha, and so the Balatur now says, okay, well, why this Parsha and not other Parshiot? Do it after Parsha Kitisa, after Chetaveh. Why in this one in Tetzaveh? He says, but the Zohar Parsha, the Berber Taxisai Kuna, Umi Moshe Aita Kuna Gdola Latzeit. So he says the reason why is that this parsha talks about the adornments of the Kohanim, and the truth is that according to the initial plan, Moshe was supposed to have the kahuna was supposed to come from him. But because Moshe said, he kept on refusing Hashem shlichut before he went into Mitzrayim. He kept on pushing out against him, saying, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." So Hashem says to Moshe, "Okay, you can't speak. You say you can't speak. You're not believing in my ability to give you that leadership." He says, right? There's this moment there where Moshe says, "Look, Aaron's coming to your brother, and he's happy in his heart, and therefore I'm going to give him the legacy of priesthood." So therefore, when we talk about the legacy of priesthood in terms of like the beautiful adornments that they had, that's where Hashem takes Moshe's name. So because Moshe obviously had a certain regret and it was painful for him, he had emotional pain, Hashem said, okay, when I talk about the Taksisai Kuna, I'm going to get 2 for 1. One, I'm going to this curse that you did on condition, I'm going to fulfill it in the Torah somewhere. And where am I going to do it? I'm going to do it in a way that actually will help you as well. When it comes to Taksisai Kuna, you don't have to see your name juxtaposed with the adornments of the Kuna. So Hashem, even the beautiful thing here, you see Hashem, even in his harsh justice, there's rachamim in it. Right? So he chooses to be manifested in a way of rachamim, which I think is very beautiful. Us as educators, as parents, as people, I saw some meme. I don't know if it was probably Andy Sachs, and all this stuff comes to me on Facebook. So I saw some thing there where she said, hard conversations don't have to be mean conversations. It's like a good chiddush. Sometimes you think like this courageous confrontation, that if you need to call someone out or something or have a hard conversation with them, you feel like you're mean because now you're in a position of power. You're pointing out someone's wrong, but it doesn't have to be mean. It actually, the only time when they're really effective is when they come from a place of love. We know that from experience. So over here we see Hashem's loving kindness, that even when he has to do something harsh, he does it in a way where he's able to actually find a bit of chesed on the way. So the Shach over here says, so that's the Balaturim. That's his reason. Because it's has to come to fruition. If we look now at number 3, this is the Shach, and he says, maybe that should be a vav. So it's asur for a person to curse himself. The fact that he had this any sort of thought of take me out, right? When he spoke about like the idea of suicide, like the idea of that it's a harmful idea, and Hashem created you, put you in the world. You've got an obligation. We can't judge these people for the hell and cruelty that they've been through, but on a regular level, if you talk about like the concept of suicide in general, Hashem gave you your body, He gave you your neshama, He gave you your physical. We've got a responsibility to look after our body and our minds, right? In a way, because it's a gift from Hashem. In normal circumstances, sometimes people don't do that, and then sometimes somehow they fall into a place where they commit these crazy acts. Most of the time we assume there's a mental illness or there's something that's happened, or there's just impossible trauma like so many people have been through in this country, unfortunately. But it's not a good thing, right? You can't curse yourself by saying I want to take myself out. So it left an impact, an impression. So how much more so someone who does it out of anger? So the Shach says the hidden message over here is about Tetzaveh b'nei Israel. I'm leaving out your name, and you need to tell them what happened to you as a result of you saying Mechani Na. You got wiped out of a parsha. And teach them an important lesson here, that you should never even curse yourself. Right? There needs to be a basic level of self-love, which is an obligation. It's not just a nice self-help guidance book thing, which is a nice concept in the world. It's a chiyuv, it's an obligation. And I think in the world we live in, it's an important thing to see it as an obligation to love yourself, right? And if you don't love yourself, obviously lots of bad things happen around you. But when you look after yourself and you take care of yourself, in a non-hedonistic way, it's important. It's important.
Just
Okay.
a question.
Yeah.
Chronologically, right? We haven't yet done Chet Egel.
Yeah.
So the Machenina in a chronological sequence hasn't yet happened. So in other words, he says, like the chronological sequence is that they would have gotten to the Chet Egel. He would have done that. He said Machenina, and then the Parshat Tetzaveh is basically was like kind of taken back into the Seder, right? And then because it fits in for other reasons, right? So there's no.
Exactly.
Right, so, okay.
Yeah. No, that's what the Balatorim here. That's he's asking your kasha, right? Because the Balatorim, he could have just told us over here. He said, the curse of a chacham, even on condition, comes through. So that's enough for him to explain why Moshe's name is missing. But then he says, why in this parsha, right? He's not saying he doesn't lay it out and say, oh, but it's the parsha before. And then he said that. But that's exactly what he's asking. He's asking your question. That's between the lines. He's asking the question, and therefore he comes to say, "Why this parsha? Because this parsha is dealing with the Tachsei Kuna." So it makes it even stronger. Hashem's rachamim in his din is even stronger because he upends the chronological order of the Torah in order
to
find.
Back. He went back and rewrote that parsha in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. In order to give Moshe the opportunity to not have his name. When I'm going to take out your name, I'll do it in a place that you're not juxtaposed with the pain of Tachsei Kuna, which it's never clarified for me as much until now. Even Din has to have rachamim. Yeah. Shkach, thanks for refining the kasha. Okay. So Rav Aviner says some beautiful things. Yeah, he says. And that brings in the Rav Tzvi Yehuda, so we're still keeping it in Torat Rav Kook Baruch Hashem. ידוע ששמו של משה רבנו אינו מוזכר בפרשת תצווה ויש מקום לומר שאין זו מפאת חסרונו אלא מגודל מעלתו. So Rav Aviner over here says the name of Moshe is in Tetzaveh, and you can say and there's space to say, which he says beautifully over here, this is not because of the lacking or deficiency of Moshe's greatness. Because really what this parsha is showing us is that Moshe's existence and his reality within the space of Am Yisrael is actually, yes, he appears in every parsha in a specific particular way, but he's also got something klali about him. He's also got something that's so grand and great and beyond and fundamental that sometimes we need to blur his name out to appreciate that he actually stands behind everything. But when you always say Moshe, you think about Moshe this particular way. But when you suddenly see Moshe's Torah and Parsha Tetzaveh without his name being there, you appreciate that Moshe is part of the behind the scenes fundamental thing, like sort of in that space of in that space, like Hashem is obviously beyond time and beyond everything and above all. And then as we get closer to the particularity of the creation of the world, Moshe is like he's still there before the absolute particularity. But Moshe says in the same way, Moshe's name doesn't appear in the Haggadah. Shaliach Hashem ligol etam, the Shaliach of Hashem to appear in the nation, right? The only place where Moshe's name appears in the Haggadah is as Yashir Moshe, right? Which is not really part of the Haggadah. It's like tefillah that we put in, and because the tefillah has got Hashem Moshe's name, it's there, but he doesn't, right? It's like he doesn't appear there. And I'm not calling Mekaziut in Yano Begula, even though he's so central to the Gula. But Dafka Mishum Mekaziut Tokalit Makefet Kol. So I mean, it's taking this like this redemptive Gula Rav Kookian perspective of saying the fact that he's not there is not a sign that he did something wrong in his particular goings on and dealings. It's rather a sign of his greatness in being able to be beyond all the details. He then, in reference, he says, Right? The Rabbanei Shem Yikhu li truma. This is like the difference between Parshat. What happens in Parshat Tetzaveh? It's a transition between Truma and Vayakel. So it says in Truma, we saw last week the Rabbi said Yikhu li truma. Speak to Bnei Israel, and they should take for me Truma. Okay. In Vayakel, we're going to see something different, right? We're going to see this. They're told to bring Truma, but how they're told to bring Truma? The first one is Hashem is in the space above. Bring for me Truma. They must bring for me Truma. The second one, we've seen Vayakel, is Kachuma Etchem Truma. It's a much more powerful thing where the people are empowered. Take from yourselves to bring Truma. Call Nadivli Boy Yaviyah, right? Anybody whose heart moves them to their Truma Hashem. So we see this transition that happens. There's like a hitbagrut. There's a maturation, a maturing of Am Yisrael from Truma. Something happens in Tetzaveh, and then there's like this revelation of the power of the people from below, where the truma can now come from within them. They don't need to be commanded, say, give me your truma. Rather, it's like find within yourselves the ability to bring to me the truma. It's coming from their own will. They're not being forced upon. So Rav Aviner now brings it with an educational perspective. The ideal space is when an educator doesn't have to command and force. Rather, he can awaken within the student the ability to desire to want to do good on his own terms. On the educator, it is incumbent to be present and not present. Touching but not touching, seen but not seen. Disappeared, but at the same time present. He must disappear in order for the person to be able to lift himself up from his own internal and self strength. Therefore, Moshe disappears. He takes a step back. He hides in the cupboard in the class, so to speak, to allow the students to do what they need to do. But so why is it about Tetzaveh? Why this Parsha and why Tetzaveh? He says a beautiful chiddush. He says about Tetzaveh and Ne'elam kivyachol min hametziut shel Tetzaveh. Moshe makes himself disappear from the reality of command. Right? So he, in the space of command, in the space of mitzvah and Tetzaveh and kriyah and this kind of reality, Moshe disappears.
In a way,
yeah.
In a way, following on this, the mechanech, it should be like seen and not seen and whatever. Like it seems, because if you consider that the Tetzaveh is talking about the Kohanim, if Moshe is there to overshadow them in the eyes of the people, it kind of detracts from their own leadership and authority. So maybe this is a way of making him less of a story directly, and in order to to make him, to give them the kavod that the people should give them, and you don't need Moshe to ride on his coattails, because you're standing on your own
beautiful
authority.
I love that. That's excellent. That's an excellent extension. Ed, any thoughts?
No.
Okay. So I
But
think
Moshe's name is mentioned in the Haggadah other than Oz Yashir.
where else? Loani.
Rabbeinu Barano, Moshe Abdul, somewhere.
Okay, when you
I'll
find
find
it, you can go. You can do early. It's Purim. Purim is the beginning of the preparation for Pesach. That's why you have to have wine, so that you can get Shloshim Yom Lifnei Chag. Sholim v'dorshim Shloshim Yom Lifnei Chag. You have to get a little bit drunk. You have to get drunk on Purim, so that you can get a little bit drunk on Pesach and tell the story. But it's the rabbinic. It's the Geulah and Galut before the Geulah, the great Geulah of Pesach. So Purim is definitely a preparation for Pesach. So
it's a lot easier to drink whiskey on Pesach, though.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll just end off with one. I know we're at the end of time, but I just want to end off just with closing the loop on. I found another piece actually on this idea of Hester Panim, where Moshe disappears from there in order to give space to Am Yisrael, to the students. Hashem disappears from the Megilla in order to give space for the Jewish people to step forward and take Torah right? When they got in Har Sinai, they were kafala and Har Gigit, which was forced upon them like a massive barrel from above. And Hashem, and Hashem said, accept it and you live, don't accept it, then you die. So there wasn't much of a choice. And Purim is a time when we make the choice to come forward because Hashem isn't in our faces. And I don't know how we make sense of the reality that we're in. I think one is on October 7th, there was tremendous Hester Panim. And even in terms of the authority local to Israel, there was Hester Panim, right? There was such a failure of authority, there was such a failure of the powers of above, the powers that be. And Amishal rose up, right? Amishal rose up in this tremendous way as individuals. It had not been for them, the people that we're close to, Daniel Perez, as we mentioned, Eli Adani, who without Pukudot just takes his and the right protection takes his soldiers forward. Daniel Perez having to leave the safety of his defined position to go and expose himself to be able to then go and kill tens of terrorists and protect all these people that he did. The countless heroes that rose up on this day. We did that within the shadow of such Hester Panim. And then we as a Jewish people over the last 500 plus days have felt this Hester Panim. And I think there's a huge calling to us to take responsibility, to be strong, to be mitached, to take our lives in our own hands, maybe to take from the shach, to not doubt ourselves. It's asur to doubt ourselves, but to find that inner strength. And to also have faith and optimism in the ability to connect with others, and to see the whole legacy of Am Yisrael as a united force. We have to believe in it. We have to fight for it, and from the bottom up. No leaders from above are going to force unity on us from below. We have to fight from below. And the koach of our soldiers and our people, and have been the soldiers in particular have been a dugma lemofet. But we need to find that from below. As civilians, and please God, this Daniel's body should be returned soon. Matan Angres to his parents, as seen Mama and his sister I met last night. He should come home safe and sound immediately, and we should be zochet to see Hashem like the shining sun. No more Hester Panim. No more Hester Panim. Right. Bring the Gula Shlema tomorrow.
Rabbi Rosenblum
always pales in comparison with the Holocaust.
Sure, but this is what we're experiencing now.
This is our Holocaust. Yeah. Just to remind us, in case we forgot what the Holocaust.
Zachor, Parshat Zachor, which is Amalek over the generations.
Small reminder of that.
Yeah.
Like Rabbi Rosenblum always says, you need the spark from below to ignite the flame from above.
Beautiful. Yeah, in his fiery way, of course. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks for joining. It was a treat to have you.
Yeah, it's a treat to be here.
Okay, good.
All right. Bye.